So people can't stop talking about cooking the statistical books. Last Friday, the jobs numbers came out in the U.S., and there were some questions raised by none other than Jack Welch, former GE chief executive, suggesting that these had been doctored by the government. Now he's come out today with a Wall Street Journal editorial saying why he believes, in fact, that there is some cooking of the books. I mean, we have written about Argentina, China, any number of other countries not exactly, kosher with all their numbers. Right. Why would it be any different in the United States? I mean, that's just sort of the argument that he's making.
If we're going to talk about Argentina, you also have to talk about, like, a lot of the people that were actually keeping the statistics walked out when they started fiddling with their numbers, right? And I think China has a long history.
Protest.
Yeah, and China has a long history of, like, not having the best numbers. I mean, I think there are problems you could probably talk about endlessly economists have with methodology of some of these numbers, but again, to accuse essentially the President of the United States going in and fiddling with government numbers to win an election with no evidence, I think is
but anyway, I mean, this is all conspiracy theories. I mean, the world's full of it. Why is it different than because Jack Welch did it?
It seems to me that cock-up is always more likely than conspiracy, right? I mean, the numbers are volatile. Mistakes can be made, as they, in the UK in this big bid for a railway line last week. Turns out the civil servants got some numbers wrong in the spreadsheet. I mean, that kind of thing happens, but it's so complicated, especially somewhere like the US with a very sophisticated data gathering system, that mistakes are far more likely than anyone actually figuring out how to fiddle the numbers.
And again, I mean, I've been following jobs numbers for much of my career, and like you see big moves in the jobless rate. I mean, it does happen. It'd be one thing if you never ever saw some an unexpected move.
But there seems to be some argument that this was partly due to the methodology, a sort of fluke in the statistics. Now, of course, the reason that it's
but if it's a fluke, that's fine. But that doesn't mean the numbers are fiddled.
That's saying that they fiddled and they did it intentionally so that Obama would.
But we should say, our job is to question numbers. There's nothing wrong with questioning how numbers are done, questioning whether politicians have influence they shouldn't have. And I should add, as far as I believe I saw information there, it doesn't necessarily address the question, but there are no political appointees at the Bureau of Statistics right now.
One of the things that Jack Welch said in his Wall Street Journal op-ed today is, I kind of wish I'd put some question marks on my tweet.
Right. Well, that would have helped, right?
It would have said, I'm questioning this, I'm not accusing.
Or just questioning, hey, there's something funny seems to be going on here. Does anybody know about the methodology? Or, I mean, there are plenty of ways to do it.
Of course.
But this tweet came out, I mean, within minutes of the jobs report. It just goes to the credibility of the voice here who's putting out something like that.
Which is Jack Welch.
Which is Jack
Welch. But
Welch.
what is his credibility then? I mean, this is a guy who famously was accused by many people in the markets of, or I should say, people thought GE Capital fiddled with its numbers every quarter, found a little bit of money where it could,
well,
surplus capital.
I think he was accused by the SEC, actually, and settled with the SEC of doing that.
So, hey, if anyone knows about cooking books, what you're saying, one could argue anyway. I'll use a question mark here. So I'm not accusing Jack Welch. But it would be that Jack Welch knows about fiddling with numbers, so he's the right person to ask about it, perhaps.
Well, yeah, but look, I mean, seriously, he trades on his status as a great grandee of corporate America.
Yeah.
That, to me, that comes with some responsibility, and at least the way he began this was pretty irresponsible.
Right. I'm sure that this won't end now. As we get to the election, there'll be at least one more jobs report, right? So we'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.